On February 19, 1942, Franklin D. Roosevelt issued Executive Order 9066, allowing the military to remove anyone with 1/16 Japanese blood from California, the western half of Washington and Oregon.
Times when the country goes into panic, and in the process of panic, of potentially going to war, there's possibilities of always having people's constitutional rights being taken away. As soon as there is any kind of political conflicts or economic conflicts with other countries like either China, even Korea sometimes, first thing they do is they say, well, let's kick all those people out of the country. And so then what they're dealing with is the possibility that many of the people that they want to kick out are American citizens, and that's totally inappropriate.
The prisoners were only allowed to bring one suitcase and only what they could carry. Most had lost everything that they had, including harvests. They had to sell their houses and household goods.
There are 10 camps, and there are 120,000 stories.
First, they were moved to places like the Pomona Fairgrounds, then to one of the 10 permanent concentration camps at Gila River, Arizona, Granada, California, Colorado, Hart Mountain, Wyoming, Jerome, Arkansas, Manzanar, California, Minidoka, Idaho, Poston, Arizona, Aurora, Arkansas, Topaz, Utah, and Tule Lake, California. Tuna Canyon was originally a civilian conservation corps camp. Then, on December 16th, opened as a detention center for mostly men who were considered dangerous enemy aliens by the Department of Justice. The capacity of the detention center was about 200 men at the time. Altogether, there were 2,000 people that passed through its gate, and they stayed an average of 2 weeks. The 10 camps were all in desolate places with extreme climate. Many were on Native American land, like Gila, Arizona, where the average summer temperature is 109 degrees.
And when my father arrived there, he had to use a map to get around.
This is an overlay of the present and past, the way it looks today, and the overlay is the Tuna Canyon Detention Center. The barracks were approximately 20 feet by 120 feet, which was divided into 6 family dwellings, approximately 20 by 20 space for each family. These barracks had no insulation and only tar paper covering the walls. There was no privacy, only sheets to separate separate living quarters. The toilets had no partitions.
People were forced to use the toilets without hardly any privacy. And the same thing goes for the showers too. The shower heads were lined up side by side.
And everyone had to take showers, male side, female side. The communal dining, people stood in long lines outside the mess halls for the cafeteria-style dining.
The portions are extremely small.
It was very difficult in the beginning because we just ate American food, bread and carbohydrates and meat. But later on, they were able to provide rice. In the camp, we got 3 meals a day in the mess hall. All the people that were cooking, busing, and serving were all they were all internees.
They held a hunger strike as a form of resistance. Before that hunger strike, there was no Cesar Chavez or other examples of hunger strike. The men in the stockade wanted to protest the conditions in the camp as well.
What the government tried to do is have us have business as usual. There were about 6 to 8 Christian churches, and then there was one Buddhist church. There was no Shinto temples because that was part of the Imperial Japan, so they didn't feel like it was necessary to do that in the camp. They didn't teach any Japanese in the camp. Each family was responsible for their own Japanese cultural continuation.
And in Tule Lake, my father was able to put a dojo together. He began to write a diary as he always did. Many people from Japan choose to write diaries every day.
Daisho Tana, a Buddhist priest and a Japanese school teacher who was arrested in the second wave of arrests. He wrote a diary that was translated by Duncan Williams for the coalition. On March 15, 1942, he wrote, "Visitors came starting at 1 p.m. Visitors are permitted on Sunday and Wednesdays. After the brief 30-minute visit, detainees near the fence and their families waved to each other, all in tears. How could one communicate through a grate during a 30-minute visit? A fellow internee who could speak English was required to be present to translate if one could only speak Japanese. Prisoners and families could only touch their fingers through the grate. I can only imagine how these families feel, seeing their husbands and fathers in prison. Many detainees did not sleep that night after lights out. Letting them see their families in an unsatisfactory way is not necessarily kindness. Detainees are not criminals. The way the visitation is organized ignores human dignity, and it should be reorganized to reflect American values such as liberty."
There became a loyalty question. Question 27, are you willing to serve in the armed forces of the United States Army or on combat duty wherever ordered? Question number 28, will you swear unqualified allegiance to the United States of America and faithfully defend the United States from any and all attack by foreign or domestic forces, and forswear any allegiance or obedience to the Japanese emperor or any other foreign government, power, or organization? Initially, my father, being a Kibe with very strong affection for Japan as well as America, said no. But my grandparents begged him to change his mind, to keep the family together, and he answered neutral. Regardless, he was sent to Tule Lake. There come 9,000 people, strong-willed people, in many cases very innocent people, because they may have answered yes, no, no, yes, or didn't answer at all because they were so stressed out. And so the government assumed that they were disloyal. My father arrived there and signed in innocently, and although he was innocent, he was arrested. Just prior to his arrival, there was a huge incident where a Japanese man died when a truck was overturned, and there was a protest about the lack of safety for the internees. And so the incarcerees were complaining about the safety and also health, because the health situation there was very poor, because a lot of the doctors were racist, and also the food was very poor. The conditions were very poor. My father missed Thanksgiving, and he missed New Year's. It became a great hardship because he was there 3 months. He was interviewed by the FBI. They were trying to say to him, trick him and say, "Why are you here?" And he said, "You tell me why I'm here," because he knew he had done nothing wrong.
It has been documented that the Japanese aliens posed no security threat to the United States of America, and no acts of sabotage were ever reported. The city of Los Angeles has set aside 1 acre under the oaks for the historical monument on June 25th, 2013. The mission of the Tuna Canyon Detention Station Coalition is to preserve the stories of the Japanese, German, Italian aliens, and the Japanese taken from Peru and others during World War II. The Civil Rights Act of 1988, signed by President Reagan, The act offered apology and $20,000 to the 80,000 surviving Japanese Americans who were sent to concentration camps only because they looked different. Let this be a lesson to all. Stand up and protest peacefully for the injustices in the world today. Students, you can be our leaders now and in the future. We would like to thank the Gardena Buddhist Church and the Wisteria Chugakko for having us here